Hello, and welcome to my very first recording of my new channel, The Worlds Beyond the Dice, where we got to have a focus on narrative TTRPGs, primarily games like Daggerheart, the Mist system games like City of Mist, the new Legends in the Mist, and various other games, even games like the wildly popular Dungeons and Dragons and Pathfinder. We'll talk about some of them, diving into the narrative, the role play aspects of the game. We'll even go over some rules. Today, we're going to start with what's probably becoming my favorite TTRPG, which is Daggerheart. First, what is Daggerheart and how can you get it? Like me, when it first came out a few months ago, it was sold out physical books, and it took forever for me to finally happen upon a copy at my local Books a Million. Which show you the book. Let me grab it real quick. Which Daggerheart comes in this awesome. My background's kind of messing it up. But if you see it, it's this awesome thing. It comes with cards and everything you need to play Daggerheart. But, nowadays a lot of people are virtual with VTTs being all the way to play TTRPGs. So what about digital copies of Daggerheart? Well, let's change the scenes and I'll show you some of the areas where I did my virtual copies. The first place is what is supported by Daggerheart itself is Nexus, Demiplane. One second. Boom. Here we go. This is the Demiplane main page, where you can see I've already purchased my copy of the Daggerheart rulebook on here, which is great. It kind of gives you a compendium where it's real easy to scroll through the game rules. I'll just show you a little sample of this where it's already sectioned off to how to look at the different things, character creation, adversaries, frame breakdowns. It makes it a whole lot simpler than just flipping through a PDF, which I bought Demiplane's little bundle ultimate digital package, which came with the Demiplane version of the PDF plus the drive through RPG PDF, and I think it was like 30 something bucks. It's not too bad. And as far as VTTs, a lot of people probably use Roll20 because Demiplane is integrated into Roll20. Me personally, I'm a fan of Foundry, and they just got the unofficial Daggerheart rule set, which uses the SRD rules, which that's what I use when I play my games. But so what is Daggerheart? Daggerheart is a collaborative, narrative-focused role-playing game that uses a hope and fear dice mechanic, which is called the duality dice, which is represented by two D12s, normally of a different color, just so you know, so you can tell them apart. Pretty much any action you do in the game, you roll your D12, add your modifiers, just like Dungeons and Dragons, except instead of a D20, you're rolling two D12s. The only difference is after the roll, you tell the GM or the narrator or the ST, whatever you want to call them, which dice is higher. Is the hope dice higher or is the fear dice higher? If the hope dice is higher, you gain a hope, which is a mechanic you can use in the game. If the fear dice is higher, I gain a fear, which is another mechanic that the GM uses. And also a complication happens in the scene. Even if you succeed on your roll, if you roll with fear, a complication as simple as you gaining a stress or something happening narratively in the scene happens. We'll get into when I start. I'm gonna do a series on like character sheets and rules and stuff, and we'll get into mechanics of that a little bit more. We'll dive into a little bit of character creation. So I'm gonna pull up my Foundry because that's what I use. My brain went blank. Sorry, y'all. Anyways, let's go over here. I don't self-host. I use a site called The Forge. We'll just load up one of my current games I got running. I don't like self-hosting. I like to have my worlds up at all times. My players can actually go into and edit their character sheets. Let me pop out some of these pop-ups. There we go. This is one of my worlds. We're currently running the Witherwild, which we'll go over that different frames later. What we are looking at is character sheets, and we'll go over the differences of Daggerheart character sheets from, say, D&D or Pathfinder 2e, Pathfinder 1e. Let's create a new actor. And then we're going to name him. We'll name this actor. What's a good name for a character? We'll do a Goblin because, my handle is Goblin, Noble Goblin. So we're going to name it Remick. And a create actor. Then we pop up. You see your basic character sheet. You see all these different things. Let's go over a little bit of it. You see your hope, which is right here. You can have a total of 6 hope at one time. And like I said, you gain hope by rolling higher on the hope dice. Below that, you see your typical attributes. In D&D, would be kind of like Dex, Strength, Constitution, Wisdom, Agility. In Daggerheart, it is Agility, Strength, Finesse, Instinct, Presence, and Knowledge. One thing that's different between, say, D&D and Pathfinder and Daggerheart is it took out that huge list of skills that you can level up and get proficiencies in. Instead, they put it into your traits. Like if you hover over Strength, it lets you know, hey, when I'm trying to lift something, when I'm trying to smash something, when I'm trying to grapple something, I use Strength to roll. And that is basically what it is. So before I go into all the different things, let's create a character. So in Foundry, there's a character creator, kind of like the same in a Demiplane, but it's a little different. So we're going to click this little up arrow here. Boom. Now, ancestries is pretty much what back in the day, being politically correct, a lot of game systems has gone from calling it races to ancestry. So that's what ancestries is. So we're going to, you can do mixed ancestry where you take the top stat of one ancestry and the bottom stat of another ancestry and make your ancestry. But we are going to just do a basic. So all we do here in Daggerheart, in Foundry, in Foundry Born, the unofficial VTT, unofficial rule set for Foundry. Let me move my fear tracker out of the way. And you click the plus button, and it comes up with all the existing SRD races. Now, there are more races. You got the void races and stuff like that. But this is in here, we just have the SRD. So you have Clanks, which, in D&D, that would be your kind of Warforged Dracona. Again, I'm just referencing D&D because that's the most common. That would be kind of like your Dragonborn. I am building a Goblin, so we're going to scroll down here to Goblin. All we do is click it, drag it over. Bam, we are a Goblin. Click Next. Next, we're choosing a community. Communities are pretty much where your character is from. Are you highborn? Are you lowborn? Are you underborn? Are you wildborn? Was your character raised in the wild? So we click it, and these are the SRD communities. There are a lot more like Desertborn and stuff like that I haven't had a chance to manually add into here. But my Goblin is a Goblin. He's from the wild. He's used to be in a tribe, but he's no longer evil. He wants to be a good Goblin, but he still is wildborn. So I'm going to select Wildborn and pull it in. And if you notice when I click it, it tells me a little bit about it. Being part of Wildborn community means you live deep in the forest. Wildborn communities are defined by the dedication to the conservation of their homelands, and many have strong religious and cultural ties to the fauna they live among. Druids would make great Wildborn creatures, by the way. All right, so we've got our community. So we're clicking next. Now we get to choose our class. All classes have subclasses, but first let's pick a class. What type of Goblin do I want to be? And again, we use SRD, which SRD comes with the Bard, the Druid, the Guardian, the Ranger, the Rogue, the Seraph, the Sorcerer, the Warrior, and the Wizard. And my mic is a little high. Let's pull this down just a little bit. You can see my hands now. Awesome. Anyways, this Goblin, I'm always a fan of Ranger classes, sneaky rogues, but I'm going to build him more like a Paladin of other games, which would be more of either the Seraph or the Guardian, which I'm going to go Seraph. Seraph are divine fighters and healers imbued with a sacred purpose. These are pretty much the Paladin of Daggerheart, so I'm going to pull that into my class. All right. Now we get to select a subclass. When you click subclass, it's going to pop up the folder for the different subclasses of Seraph. Hold on. Excuse me. Okay, so we have Divine Wielder. Play a Divine Wielder if you want to dominate the battlefield with a legendary weapon. And then you got the Winged Sentinel. These creatures, the Winged Sentinel get wings and can actually fly. And I always thought it'd be cool to have a Goblin that could just fly around, kind of like the flying monkeys in Wizard of Oz. So I am going to be a Winged Sentinel. Boom. Next is traits. Okay. Traits. This is pretty much like in D&D. A lot of the stats you do you do point by, where you add your stats to your traits, or you would do standard array, which gives you a set number you put in it, or you would do roll. You roll 3d6 or 4d6, dropping the 6, re-rolling ones and zeros. However your GM or DM likes to do it. In Daggerheart, it has a preset number that you assign to your stats. Like you could do a 2, 1, 1, -1, and 0. That's what you're aligning here. Right here, since I'm playing a Seraph Winged Sentinel, it's already telling me, hey, this is what we suggest you set your stats for. You do not have to do this. You can go in here and preset however you want. But just for simplicity, I am going to set my stats. Bam, done. Just do my pre-suggested stats. And now we are going on to experience. Experiences is a great narrative tool. It is very vague traits, vague statements about your character and about your character's background that you can use during the game, in combat or even in RP areas like political, anything. And experience be anything. Like he is a Seraph. He's a winged Seraph. But he's going to be a good fighter. So I am going to say something. We need something for combat. Something I can use and spend hope in my combat. Because I always suggest to my players, hey, get one combat experience, one out of combat experience. So you have those experiences to use. So I'm going to say never leave a man behind. Okay? All right. What this does, okay, for example, if there is something happening in the scene, be it combat, be it out of combat, that experience could be relevant to, you can spend one of those hopes you gained and add a +2 to that roll. That's exactly what experience is. So let's talk about a good add-on. How about like photographic memory? He's trying to remember something, and so whenever it comes to books and stuff, I can use a hope to get a +2. So we are going with photographic memory for the second experience. If I could spell, that would be great, but you get the idea. So now there are my two experiences. Next. Now, one thing Daggerheart does differently is instead of writing out all your feats you gain throughout the game on paper, they use what is called cards. And let me pull out one of the cards because the cards are awesome. They have beautiful artwork. And let me get my card case out. This is the card case that the Daggerheart core set comes with. Pull it open. It has all these beautiful cards just sitting in it. And when you look at the different cards, here, so I can get a good image of this. See, it comes with your abilities, beautiful artwork, and all the different stats. So instead of writing your feats down, you actually, in a home game, you'd have these cards sitting out in front of you, showing you different abilities. All right, let me put my book up because I like to keep all my stuff nice and neat around my desk. All right. So we are going to pick domain cards. Our domains are Valor and Splendor. So I can pick two cards from either of the domains. I can mix it up. So let's click the first one. And this shows all the level 1 cards that are available to use. Like Bare Bones. This is kind of like the unarmored defense that like monks and barbarians in D&D get. Bare Bones is ability to to be able to fight without armor. I'm not going to be a bare bones fighter, so I don't want that. And then you got these different abilities. Iron Shield is amazing, and I am taking that one. This one is when the allies is very close and they take damage. I can mark a stress and take that attack instead of them. It's pretty much like me jumping in the way and taking the damage for my player. So I am pulling that to one of my cards. All right. Next, I'm thinking of maybe taking this healing spell here. It's kind of like when you lay hands on a creature and channel healing magic. You close their wounds. When you take a few minutes to focus on the target you're helping, you can spend 2 mope and clear a hit point or a stress on them. Once per long rest, when you spend this healing time learning something new about them or revealing something about yourself, you can clear 2 hit points instead of 2 stress. So yes, I'm going to take that. So I'm building myself as a tank to where I can take your hits, and also as kind of a healer to where, I can help heal. I can't be a main healer, but I can definitely clear some hit points. Now, equipment. Again, it's going to pop up this big equipment list, and this is suggested armor that you could take as a Seraph, which I'm going to take the chainmail. It's a tier 1. It's a decent armor. So all I'm going to do is just drag it over here to my character sheet. Oh, I'm going to, drag it up here, and there you go. Now, it does say a hollowed axe is suggested. I'm not a big axe fighter. I like to have the sword and shield when I'm doing this kind of character. So I'm going to click here. It's going to load up all my tier 1 weapons that I am able to use. It's going to let me know if it's a primary or secondary. And I'm looking for primary, so I'm just going to subtype it so all my primary is on top. And I am looking for the sword. I believe great sword is two-handed. Yes. So I want the long sword. Where are you at? There it is. Long sword. So I'm just going to move that out of the way. I'm going to grab my long sword. Drag it right there. And next up is shields. All right. Secondary weapon. All right. Now, good way to find secondary. Same way. Primary. Boom. Secondary. There's two different types of shields. You can get level 1. You get the basic round shield. Or you get the towering tower shield, which is huge, big shield. But, you know, being a fly around, I don't want that heavy shield, so I am going to take the suggested. Oh, is my longsword two-handed? It must be, because it's saying it is. Huh. Okay. Maybe it's broadsword I want. Yeah, let's do that. Boom. Yeah, that's it. Longsword's two-handed. Broadsword is single-handed. Anyways, so I got my armor. I got my shields. These are starting armors you automatically get. This is your starting equipment, like your load up. Your basic supplies, you know, your rations, your water skin, your rope, and you come with a torch. And then you sit here and choose, okay, do I want a health potion or do I want a stamina potion? Health potion clears your HP. Stamina clears your stress. Like I said, once I've built a character, we'll go over some of the things on the character sheet, which I am taking health. And this one is more of an RP choice. You know, do you want a bundle of offerings or a sigil from your god? I'm going to take the sigil. Kind of like a still statue or something representing the god I serve. And finish character setup. Now it's going to populate my character sheet to have everything done for me. So now I have just created my first creature. My first character. So let's go to inventory. First things first. Let's go ahead and equip. I don't know why it gave me 2 armors. Let's delete one of those. Boom. There we go. Equip. All right. So now we have our character. And of course, a character would not be complete without an image. So let's go up here. Great thing about Foundry is you have modules. And one module I love to use is called Tokenizer. So Tokenizer helps me make tokens inside of Foundry. So let's find an image. Maybe I have preloaded on my screen of a goblin. Let's see. Do I have a goblin somewhere? Adversaries. I know I have someone in Forge, but can I load up Forge through Tokenizer? Yeah. No. Ah, there we go. Boom. Forge. All right, we're gonna back out. This is where most of my inventory, most of my images are kept because I use a server. Most of my stuff I load up directly onto the Forge, and it holds it. So let me type in goblin to see if there's any goblins right here. Oh, look at that. I got several goblins. We will use this one's actually from Pathfinder 1E's Weeby Goblins. So we'll use one of my Weeby Goblins. We'll be this guy. I don't want the already token, but it'll be alright. Select file. Boom. So I got me a goblin. It even has a token. But I'm not going to use that frame because I will add my own frame. So first thing I'm going to do, add me a mask. I didn't realize I was going to go into some Foundry stuff, but we are going to pretty much this is getting rid of the square and making that. And then I can go in and add a frame. And these are all my tokenizer frames, but I got another file of frames that I like to use better. So we go back to here, look for my token frame folder. Boom, there it is. And I got all these cool frames. He's a seraph. He uses a sword and shield. So let's find him a cool frame that uses a sword and shield. Here we go, right here. Boom. Boom. Let's edit that. Be able to move it up a little bit. Zoom out. There. He has a frame. And now I'll modify this side. This is just going to be my artwork image. So this one's going to be the original image I just pulled up, which is... Go to the main page. Type in goblin. And there you are. Select file. Okay. Then we go to click this. There it is. Click apply. And now Remick has an image. This takes a second to load up. There we go. And so like now if I want to pull him over onto the map, he has that cool little sword and shield token. But let's get back to that character sheet. We're not explaining the difference. I like Roll20. I like Foundry. They're all got their pluses and minuses. But let's go over character sheets. I went over traits. I told you a little about hope. HP is not like HP in traditional tabletops. You have a lot less HP in Daggerheart. Like I said, this starts out with 7. If you notice, down right below HP, we'll start with Evasion 8. That is your AC. When a creature attacks you, it is trying to meet or beat that 8 evasion for you to take damage. Let's say a creature hits you, and on the dice it says it does a total of 10 damage. Well, you're going to go right down here. This is called a threshold table. It says minor, 8, major, and 16 and severe. We'll say it did 10 damage. 10 is between the 8 and 16. That means it's a major damage, which means you lose 2 HP unless you spend one of my 5 armor slots, which will knock it down to a minor. So, for that would do, I would come up here, change that to a 1. That means it's minor damage, so I just took 1 HP of damage. Makes sense? Pretty much you just look at how much is rolled and basing it on this little chart, 1, 2, 3, pretty much. If it meets or beats that 16, it's a severe, which is 3 HP. If it meets or beats the 8, means it's a major, and if it's under 8, it is a minor. You can spend 1 armor slot per attack unless you have an ability that lets you use more. So pretty much if you get a severe that's 3 HP, you can spend 1 armor slot to knock it down to 2 HP, but you cannot spend 2 armor slots to continue knocking it down. Then you have stress. Stress is exactly what it is. There's abilities that make stress go up. Well, a lot of times when you roll with fear, I will say, hey, mark a stress. It's a very stressful situation. Once you max out your stress, the next stress you receive is a damage to your HP. So it's good to keep your stress from being fully stressed out. But there are a lot of abilities that does rely on using the stress. Let's see what else we got. Okay, we did the evasion. The armor slot's proficiency is a little different. Like other games, you get like a +2 or a +3, depending on what your proficiency is. Proficiency 1 means I'll roll 1 die. So right now, my broadsword is a 1d8 for damage. When my proficiency goes up to 2, that broadsword would be a 2d8. Based on proficiency number is how many dice you roll. Okay. That experiences that you see my loadout, the cards I chose. Connections. Connections is a big one. That doesn't have a lot of these questions here. Let's flip back over to Demiplane because it actually has the questions in the book for different connections. Because being connected to your players is a big thing in Daggerheart. So 1 second while I click my hyperlink to Demiplane. So we're topping back over here. We'll go to my game, Daggerheart. And, let's load up one of my pre-made characters in Demiplane. I got a lot of them. We'll do Kuldar. Loading. Yeah, Demiplane does run a little slower than other things, but it's still not bad. Like I say, the character sheets design is a little bit different, but it's all basically the same thing. You got your thresholds, you got your armor slots, evasion, armor, stats, your weapons, your experiences, and these are where your cards are sitting in the Demiplane thing. But we're going over here to details, I do believe. Yeah. All right. Now, connections. See, these have some pre-filled out connections. These is what I would ask my fellow players during session 0, so we can have connections that connect us a little better. Like, for example, one of Kuldar's questions is, how did I save your life the first time we met? And y'all would, sit there and decide, hey, what is a way that Kuldar saved your life? Then I could ask another one of my players as Kuldar, what small gift did you give me that you notice I always carry with me? Or another player, what lie you told me about yourself that I absolutely believe? These are pre-made questions that are actually in the book, but even in the book, it does state you could use any question. You can make your own questions up. Let's see. Let's go to classes. Since I was building the Goblin Seraph, let's go to Seraph. All right, let's scroll down. This tells you the basics of the domain, what evasion you start at, what HP you start at. You have the different features that you would add to your character sheets, foundations, mastery, the different subclasses, like we chose wing signal, and right here you got background questions and connection questions to help build your character. Like for example, it also says ask your fellow players one of the following questions for their character to answer, or create your own questions. For a Seraph, they have questions like, what promise did you make me agree to? Should you die on the battlefield? Or why do you ask me so many questions about my god? Or you've told me to protect one member of our party above all others, even yourself. Who are they and why? Just questions that gets you deeper into connecting with your players to make those more memorable roleplay moments. Background questions, same thing. Just helps you build your character. Which god did you devote yourself to? What incredible feat did they perform for you in a moment of desperation? Just just different things that, like I said, helps you build your backstory, helps you build your character. Because Daggerheart is, like I said, is a narrative-focused, collaborative role-playing game. Load the forge back up. Besides that, I mean, that is the basics that I was wanting to go over. I guess we could go into the dice mechanics, or I'd save that for another episode. Anyways, we'll do that for another episode. Like I said, if you enjoyed this, I know I was kind of rambling on the very first episode, get the jitters out. But if you enjoyed this, if you liked it, don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe, and I plan on putting out some more content, some actual plays maybe in the future. We'll go over rules of other games. There's one I've been looking at. It's called Legend in the Mist, which uses the Mist engine that doesn't even have attributes or stats. They use everything is pretty much traits and tags, which is a very interesting, very narrative focused game. If you have any questions, post in the comments. What are some of the narrative games that you like that you would like to see gone over? I mean, there are tons of them. Vampire the Masquerade is one of my favorites. It's a very narrative focused game. Anything World of Darkness, I love. Besides that, that's it. This is Noble Goblin. I hope you've enjoyed this few minutes of going over Daggerheart. Uh, Next episode, we'll go over the rules a little more in depth. We'll do some sample rolls. We'll even look at how combat runs when there is no initiative. So, like I said, click that like, click the subscribe. I will put the links to Demiplane in the down below. Also, I'll put the links to like Foundry and the Forge, the different things I use for my VTTs. Maybe one in the future we'll talk about the different VTTs and the positives and negatives. Like I said, I like the Road 20. They are integrated with Demiplane, so it makes it very simple running your character sheets. So we'll do that in the future. Anyways, you have a great day, and we will see you next time with the world beyond the dice.